What is going on, everybody? This is Matt Carter, that YouTube Realtor, and now that we're in the month of June, it is time to do a market update for the month of May 2022. So quickly, just before we hop into those numbers, if you don't mind taking a quick second to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also make sure you turn on that bell so you get notified for all my videos coming up in the future. Really helps me out with the algorithm and pushes me to continue making these videos for all of you. So let's get right into those numbers. In May, we saw 1,367 new listings hit the market. This is an all-time high for May, and I'm pretty sure just in general for the months that we have seen. So this is about 100 more than we have seen previously as an all-time high, and about 200 more on average that we usually see in the month. So definitely a ton of new listings hitting the market. With that, we also saw 613 homes sell during the month, which is a pretty low number if you look at the last 10 years. The only time we saw lower numbers for sales during May was in 2020, when we were kind of in the beginning of the pandemic and everybody was navigating whether they should actually get into the market or not. So this is definitely a little bit of a hit in terms of the sales activity that we have seen. This led to just over 1,000 listings that were active at the end of the month. And if we take a look back historically in the last 10 years, this is as high as it's been over the last 5 years and starting to creep up towards where we were pre-pandemic and pre-real estate market frenzy. So we're definitely starting to get more of those healthier numbers, getting more towards a balanced market. Right now, we're sitting at 1.7 months of inventory. And again, just a refresher, that means if no more homes hit the market right now and they continue to sell at the same rate that they have been selling, we would be all out of listings in about 1.7 months. So just over a month and a half there, and then all of the houses would be gone. So that sounds like it's, depending on your interpretation, could sound like not a lot, could sound like a lot of homes, but relatively speaking, that's still not a lot of months of inventory. We won't really start seeing a significant amount of inventory on the market until we start getting up into the 2, 3, 4 months of inventory. That's when we were considered to be in a balanced market by that standard, but definitely moving more towards the balanced market as opposed to the crazy sellers market we have been in the last few months and years, actually. Going along with that months of inventory stat that I talk about, and a similar one that we use to gauge what type of market we're in, is the sales to new listings ratio. So right now we're at about 44% sales to new listings, which means if we're talking about what type of market we're in, that actually puts us in a balanced market by that statistic. But it's always good to take a look at the larger picture, take a look at the other statistics and other factors that we can play into the equation. And I think while we are moving towards that balanced market, we aren't quite there yet. If you look at average prices and how much homes are selling for, we're still getting homes selling for 8% on average more than they're listed for. So that competitiveness is still there. The drive, the buyer drive and competition is still there in the market. It's not as crazy as it was at the beginning of the year, getting 20 plus offers on properties, going $200,000 over asking. Now we're seeing, a few offers on the property come offer day, and maybe it's going anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 over asking. So still very competitive, but just not as crazy as it has been over the last a few months ago and previous years. So that leads me right into the most important thing, I guess, by a lot of people's standards when they're looking at stats, and it's the average price of a home in London. So within the city of London proper, the average price right now is $743,635. So if you recall from my last video, if you were watching that, we were just about $748,000 or so. So we've dropped a little bit, but nowhere near as drastic a drop as we did see in the previous month in April, when we dropped about $50,000. So dropping about $5,000 this last month, I wouldn't call that anything crazy. That's more of just undulations in the market as we go through these spring and summer months. We generally do see these types of numbers fluctuate during the spring and summer just because there are far more listings hit the market. Buyers have a lot more to choose from, so things aren't going as crazy as normally. So not anything out of the realm that we're any of the realm of reasonable, I would say, during for May. So a $5,000 drop off isn't too much of a concern, I don't think, in my opinion. Homes are lasting a little bit more in terms of the median days on market. Right now we're sitting at 9, and for that higher price point we're around 10, maybe 11 depending on where you're looking. But that is up from where we were previously. We have seen anything in the 6 to 7 range, and just interesting to note that because there's so much more to choose from for buyers on the market right now, a lot of properties still are going within that week period that they're in the market, that first week on market, but some are lasting a lot longer to sell and having to potentially do price changes in order to strategize and get more people through the door. So some of those properties are lasting 2-3 weeks, even some properties over a month now. So take-home messages, I guess, at the end of the day. If you are a buyer, there's definitely a lot of options out there for you right now. And it might be a good time to get into the market because you're going to be avoiding all this crazy competitiveness that we have seen in the last little while. If you have been beat down continuously over the last couple of years looking for a home, now could be a good time to swoop in, get a good offer in there, and avoid a ton of competition like we had seen in the past. For you sellers out there, I think it's important to not think the sky is falling in terms of housing values. Yes, we have seen about a $55,000 drop since 2-3 months ago, but honestly, it's not too big of a deal in my opinion. I know $50,000 is a lot of money, but houses are still selling. It's still competitive out there, and you're still going to get buyers that are interested in your property. You just may need to manage your expectations a tiny bit in this market right now. Things aren't going to be selling necessarily in that 5, 6, 7 days that we have seen, or even day one for a lot of cases. You may just have to manage your expectations that for pricing more appropriately and not underpricing, expecting $200,000 over the asking price, and maybe expecting it to be on the market for possibly 2 weeks. And that's totally okay. You look back historically, and everybody has gotten so used to these numbers that we've seen in the last 2 years that have just been things flying off the shelf. And, the norm is homes lasting a month or more on the market until it gets sold. So I think it's just people that are going to have to come to grasp with what's an actual healthy market, and that's where we're actually shifting to. So one thing to keep an eye on, I think, going into the next couple months and into the summer and then finally into the fall, is it'll be interesting to take a look at what happens to this market. Like I said, spring and summer, we usually see a little bit of a leveling off in terms of the housing prices, because there is a lot more people moving. There's a lot more inventory on the market. So those houses, the values are going to level off a little bit. But what we have seen is that's different from the last couple of years is the mortgage rate interest rates are increasing. So we just saw one at the beginning of June. It went up half a point, or 50 basis points, half a percentage, and that may lead to an influx of buyers getting into the market, trying to get something before their pre-approval rate expires with their previous lower rate, and they have to pay a little bit more. So it could either go that way where people kind of rush into the market, or it could go the other way and kind of scare off people even more and be a little more unsettling. And honestly, I'm not exactly sure which way it's going to go. It's anybody's guess. Nobody has a crystal ball and nobody really knows. But it's one thing we're going to have to keep an eye on the market. Take a look at what's happening with the market mentality and where everybody is shifting their focus, and see where everything's going in order to properly educate people, whether they're buying or selling. So that's about it for the market update for May 2022. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you been in this market? What have you noticed? And are you planning on making a move over the next couple months, especially with these mortgage interest rates going up and just what's happening in this market? I'd love to hear what you are doing. So if you found any value to this content, and I hope you did, please make sure you slap a like on this video, subscribe to my channel, and make sure you hit the bell to get notified. And please pass this along to anybody else that you think would value from it as well. Keep tuned for all my videos that come out every single week, and until my next one, take care.